Good morning, Avon Community Church. Welcome to our Mission Sunday here at ACC, and we're so glad you could join us today. And thank you for joining us if you're watching us online this morning. It's such a pleasure to be here and worshiping with you all today. Like I said, today is Mission Sunday at ACC, and we're offering you really the opportunity to come and taste and see that the Lord our God is good, truly good, and working through and around the lives of those that are serving in other parts of the world. If you are new or visiting with us today, we'd ask that you take a look at filling out one of our connections cards, either here in the seats or online on our website. We have right next to the video viewer on our website a little link that you can fill out connections, and we just ask that you do that so we get a chance to get to know those of you that are joining us for the first time or joining us online that we can't be with at this point. Also, just a reminder that even though we're not doing a regular offering and tithing during this time, you can still give by putting your donations in the black boxes in the back of the church here. If you are joining us online, we also have a giving page that you can find all the different options to give there this morning. Would you stand with us as we begin our time of worship today? We're going to start with a song called God is on the Move. Anytime my heart turns from darkness to light, anytime temptation comes and someone stands to fight, anytime somebody lives to serve and not be served, I know God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move in many mighty ways. God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move today. Anytime in weakness someone falls upon their knees or dares to speak the truth that sets men free, anytime the choice is made to stand upon the word, I know God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move in many mighty ways. God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move today. I see a generation standing on the truth in each and every nation. God is on the move. Anytime the gospel stirs a searching soul, and someone says, "Send me, here I go." I know. God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move in many mighty ways. God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move today. I see a generation standing on the truth in each and every nation. God is on the move. Heavenly Father, we thank you today that you are moving in the hearts and the minds of individuals, your children, Lord. And we place our trust and hope in you as you continue to work out all things for your good today, Lord. In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. This cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fear cry to final breath. Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can never pluck me from his hand till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand. No power of hell, no scheme of man can never pluck me from his hand till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand. You may be seated. All right. At this time, I would like to invite Melanie Ebnet up here for just a missions update and to tell us a little bit about the missionaries that we have here today that are joining us for our Mission Sunday here at ACC.
All the kids are dismissed if they want to go back. We have CEF, Child Evangelism Fellowship, for the kids today. All right, for all of you who don't know me, I am Melanie Ebnet, and I am the administrative assistant here at Avon Community Church for about the last 4 years. And I also am now on the mission team, along with Becky Rand and Tammy Gehring. So the three of us have been working these past few months trying to develop a vision and a mission and a ministry action plan for our missions team here at ACC. We have been kind of on a hiatus for a year. So we've still been supporting our missionaries. However, we have not been doing events like what we have here today. So that is going to change. And we're working towards that. We have based a lot of our key action plans on Matthew 22, 36 through 40, and Matthew 28, 18 through 20. It is the Great Commandment and the Great Commission, and you will see here today that a lot of people that are set up here are following through on both of those. Also, let's see. As you guys know, I do not like talking up here, and so I'm very nervous, so I apologize. So I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. We have been, let's see, some of our key actions that we're going to be developing through our missions team is going to be education and awareness. And so today is Mission Sunday, and we have our missionaries that we've set up and had come today, and I'm overwhelmed by the response that we've had. Every one of them has said yes to coming. And so it's just a beautiful thing. We have two new missionaries, and that would be Child Evangelism Fellowship, and we are planning on working with them in the upcoming months here to develop training and to develop our children's program here along with their help. So the kids are out there today with them. Also, we have a newer missionary, which would be Terebinth Refuge. Our Hearts and Hands group worked with them several times. If you want to stand up, Sherry and Ilana. There we go. They're right there. We have supported them in many different ways throughout the past few years through Hearts and Hands. However, we are looking to partner with them some more, and so it would be great if you could stop by their booth and check out some opportunities that they would have for you to help out with that. All right. Another booth that we have out there is Eagle's Healing Nest. So if you guys want to stand, and the Wolves. This home is a veterans home located in Sauk Center. Marlis and Rick Wolf have been very active with this organization. They are members here at ACC. So if you guys want to stand up, please. Thank you. So they do everything from bringing some donuts to them on a certain day or assembling baskets for their fundraiser at Nest Fest, which is an awesome fundraiser that they have at the end of summer. All the while that Marlis and Rick are there, they're making connections and they're developing relationships. And their veterans that they develop their relationships with become family. I've heard them say that and talked with them about that. And so they care very deeply about these veterans. And I just remember ACC started volunteering, working on the chapel, and that's where I started doing my work there. And so that was really an interesting and long process, but Rick and Marlis, they just organized everything. They set up crews. Joe and Pam were also very intricate in that process. So if you ever get a chance to get up there, ACC did do a lot of work on that chapel, and so take some time and go visit Eagle's Healing Nest. Also, the Wolves are couriers for International Bible Givers, and they distribute free Bibles. So on their stand out in the foyer, they have free Bibles. So you will be able to take a look at those and pick out ones that you would like for yourself or your family or a friend. Let's see, Helps International. So we have, where is Nicole and Matt? There they are. The three of us, actually, we're going to be going on a mission trip to put up stoves in Guatemala in the rural area this spring. And that trip got canceled. And so it is rescheduled for next spring at the end of March. But the money that we raised was able to get there down to Guatemala, and the stoves were set up for the families that were waiting. So this helps out with their health and their safety of their families. And so we're looking forward to going next year. So if anybody's interested, talk to Matt and Nicole or myself, and we can help you with that, because it would be awesome to get more people to go. I know Jermaine has been on the trip too. So also we have St. Teresa's Orphan Foundation here. Do you want to stand up, Teresa? So staff. Teresa and Jeremy have been part of ACC, and we've supported staff for many years. We've done fundraisers like pie sales, VBS and Sunday school offerings, garage sales, and many other fundraisers that we've had. I spoke this week several times with Teresa, and the passion and commitment for children is first and foremost for her, and that is why she does what she does. Her heart is for all vulnerable children, not only in Africa, but also in the United States also. And her vision started out really small, but God blew it up into more than she could ever imagine. And I'd like you to take a look at her display today on the way out, because she has these spheres, these circles of influence, and she leaves one blank because she knows God is going to fill it for her. And so they just keep adding circles to it. So take a look at that and just ask her about all those ministries that she has going on in Tanzania. Also, we have Sarah Wardlaw here, Terry and Sarah. There she is, way in the back. Hi. They do Bible translating, and they have a beautiful booth out in the foyer. Please go and take a look at that and find out what their next project is. That'll be exciting. Also, we have Carolyn Pinky here. You want to stand up? Yeah. Carolyn brings community and relationship to the Somali population in Minneapolis. She develops long-lasting friendships with Somali women. Also, she has finished her book, Miracles in West Africa. This book depicts Bruce and Carolyn's missionary work in West Africa, and it brings Africa alive with the hope of God. And it is a beautiful book, you guys. I'm halfway through it, and it is just a wonderful read. It brings about the basics of missionary work, and it really has taught me a lot. So thank you, Carolyn. And her book is for sale in the back. All right. I think I got everybody. Awesome. All right, so that will bring us to Jared Larson. Jared is here as our speaker today for our Mission Sunday. He grew up in central Minnesota, just down the road from here in Holdingford. His mom, Karen, is actually here today, too. Hi, Karen. His roots are here, but his heart for God's people has provided many, many opportunities to travel and live abroad. Jared served in the military. He was part of YWAM for many, many years. He is working on his doctorate right now and just returned this spring from the Philippines. And he is here today to shed light on the sex trafficking industry and what we can do to be the salt and the light in this dark world. So please welcome Jared Larson to ACC.
Good morning. How is everybody? Good. It is great to be back here in Minnesota, and it's great to be back at ACC. For those of you who do not know me, yes, I'm from Holdingford. I'm from Community Country Church. My church is actually your sister church. You guys were part of a church plant many, many years ago, and so that is kind of the connection that I have with you guys. Some of my first mission trips that I led to Mexico and Panama, some of your youth actually joined my church. I believe it was Kayla Kleinjohn, Anna Kahns, the McGilverys. We went to Mexico and Panama, had a great, amazing time. We rebuilt a church in a gang area. We're able to do a lot of outreach, a lot of ministry to the kids. And then in Panama, we were able to take some boats up into the jungle, lived in some huts off the ground, and were able to do ministry with some of the indigenous people there. So that is kind of my connection with you guys. And it seems like every time I come back, I have to give the intro again as to who I am. And the reason is you guys are growing, you're expanding. And I think this is the first time I've ever had people actually online listening, and it's a beautiful thing. You know, God is at work and the family is growing. So all that to say, it's great to see everybody. It's great to see new faces and new people and old faces. And so for the last several years, since 2009, I have been traveling doing missions work, like Melanie said. God called me after seminary and said, let's go. And so left everything and went and moved to the Middle East. I was there for about 4 years doing missions work. I was there during the Arab Spring. Saw the revolts and revolutions take place right before my eyes, and yet through all of that, God was doing amazing work. People were really realizing you can't put your faith, your trust in any one government or any one system or even one religion. Your faith, your trust has to come in Jesus. So we saw a lot of people, even with the chaos, the anarchy that you guys saw on your TV screens. We saw a lot of people coming to faith in Jesus, and God is still moving in those same ways over there. And from there, God actually brought me back to my home nation of India, where I was adopted from, and got to work with both Hindus and Muslims and see God work in even more amazing ways and see how much the Father is really moving amongst the hearts and minds of different people. A few years ago, I was able to spend some time in Europe, and worked with the homeless outreach and saw God really touching people through helping them, just find basic needs of food, clothing, trying to help them get back on their feet with jobs. Many of them had lost their jobs. And just seeing the church work in a different way in reaching the needs of people. And also when I was there, able to see the refugee crisis and see the church actively involved in meeting the needs of the refugees and being salt and light, being the hands and feet of Christ to those in need. Now recently, had an opportunity to go to the Philippines and work with a different type of ministry. So it feels like God has always been moving me around different places, all over the world, and partnering with different groups and seeing what he's doing, not just in one area, but in all areas. And the Philippines, it was a wonderful, beautiful time. It is primarily a Catholic nation, though there are a lot of other denominations there. The president is actually very anti-Christian. So even before I arrived, he passed a law stating no open evangelism. So for me to talk to anybody about faith, we would have to meet, privately in a coffee shop or, on the side and openly dialogue there between the two of us. But I could not be, open about my faith, which was nothing new for me. I was used to that from my time in the Middle East and in India with YWAM. This was just a different context. But I did have some great conversations, made a lot of good connections there, made some friends with some Filipino doctors who were very open to talking about faith. There's tons of Americans there, American veterans, because we had 5 military bases there during, some of the wars. And so because of that, there's still a lot of American military personnel who are there and are there on long-term visas. I was able to connect with them. There's actually a VFW and an American Legion over there. So I spent a good amount of time there, dialoguing with people and building those key connections, building those relationships needed to talk about faith. One of the things I very much love about the Philippines and its similarity to the Middle East was the fact that it's a very warm culture. So they're very close-knit. So even just walking down the street, it's easy to make friends, easy to talk to people. They had these trike drivers all over on every single street corner. And they would, pretty much a motorcycle with like a little bucket attached to it. And very easy to talk to them. They always wanted to talk to you. They always, had fruit to give out to you. And it was very easy to connect with them to the point that they would be having a Christmas party on the side of the street, and even if they didn't know you, they were inviting foreigners left and right to come and to join you, and to have food, to have fellowship, and they love karaoke. I mean, you could hardly sleep at night with the amount of karaoke. You could rent these machines. You'd be hearing it at 1, 2 in the morning, and that you just got used to because it's a warm culture and it's a night culture. Also had the opportunity to connect with people, even though I didn't know them, getting invited to random birthday parties. It's an interesting thing at a Filipino birthday party to see all these 50 and 60-year-olds do line dancing to Achy Breaky Heart. And so, but all that to say, it's a beautiful culture. It's a wonderful place to go. It's nice and warm 24/7. They don't have snow. And so when I had to evacuate out because of the coronavirus and come back in the beginning of April, I forgot how cold it was here and started to freeze because I was so used to 90-degree weather. So if you ever get the chance to go, definitely I encourage you, take that opportunity and go. They love Americans. They love Europeans. They're very warm-hearted. Now, sorry. Suppose it helps if I have control of the slides. So this is Walking Street. Walking Street is the primary area where the sex trade, sex trafficking takes place in Angeles City, which is in the northern part in the Philippines. Walking Street has technically been here since about World War II. It came about because of the amount of foreign men that were there from the military. And out of that, the sex trade industry started to be fueled, started to get going. It runs pretty much day and night there, actually, 24/7. So it's always going, always hopping. There's always life. The girls that are there are required to work at least 12-hour shifts. So they'll start maybe about 2 p.m., and they will work until about 2 in the morning. And there's about, rough estimates, about 10,000 to 12,000 girls that are working in these different clubs, in these different bars. I wasn't able to get pictures inside the club. They do not allow that, so they watch you like a hawk when you're in these places. But I do, on the board out there, have pictures of what the outside of the bars, the clubs look like. Now, up until recently, they had both underage and overage girls working in these bars. The government has cracked down on that thanks to the new Christian mayor. And he has said, nope, you're not going to do this. You cannot have underage people. So they've been doing sting operations and keeping track of the girls there and making sure that it's only those over 18. However, the underage trafficking still takes place, but now it is taking place in places like Clark Military Base, close by Walking Street. And so they've been doing different busts and finding these underage workers there. They also have a lot, Walking Street also has a lot of ladyboys that are there, people who are changing and altering their sexual orientation to meet the needs of the foreign tourists that are there. Now, one of the things that I learned when there and dialoguing with people is the owners of the clubs do not allow the workers to take a break or to eat until you actually service a customer, whether it is just sitting down with a customer or spending time with them. They are required to stand up on these stages like this. Now, some of the stages are tiered. You go into some of these clubs and there's 3-level tiers. Now, all the girls will be wearing different numbers, and there's girls called the mama-sans. They are the ones ultimately in charge of the girls, running the show. So as foreigners, you go in there and you say, I want to spend time with number whatever, with that girl. They have a laser pointer, and they will point at the girl, and the girl will see that and then come and spend time with the different guys. They'll also, sometimes they will have, depending upon which club you're in, they will have ping pong balls. And if the guys want, you just throw a ping pong ball at some of the girls on the stage, and then the girl has to come spend time with them. And like I said, this is continuously going, day and night. It is run primarily by the Korean mafia right now. It used to be run much more by foreigners. However, recently the Koreans have been taking over and are now running a lot of these businesses. In fact, they've taken over so much that about a half a mile to a mile of the place I was staying, if I would walk, I was no longer in the Philippines. You go down and the businesses are then written in Korean. All the shops, it's written in Korean language. You no longer are mixed in with Filipinos or Americans. It's all Koreans, to the point where you realize you are very much out of place. And it was that realization that hit me, and I realized how influential the Korean mafia and Korean businesses are becoming, and how they are pushing Americans out. But they are taking over, and when you go into these clubs, go into these bars, you are being watched because they know, okay, that there's missionaries. They know that there's different church groups that come and are trying to reach these girls. There's at least 5 different organizations that I was working with. I worked with a wide variety, and the reason is because not all these organizations can do it on their own. It's too big of a job. That's just the reality of it. So you have some organizations that go in and build the relationships, try to connect with people and bring them out. Then you have other organizations that are able to provide food and clothing and help them get a job. And you have other organizations, because many of these girls already have kids. So you've got 18, 19-year-old girls that have a couple kids from different foreign men who are tourists or who are ex-military that are living there. And so some organizations, you need to provide housing for these girls. Well, you also need room for their children, and you need to be able to educate their children along with the parents. And so it's a very, very difficult dilemma trying to provide and meet the needs of all of these people who are there. So what happens is when you are there, there's something called a bar fine. Now, a bar fine is how a girl is taken out. So if you were to go in and you would say, okay, I would like this individual, and you have to pay X amount per night. So then you say how many nights, you pay the bar, and the girl actually gets a little bit of that money. So she is making something, but the bar is ultimately taking all of the royalties, all of the benefit. And I've even heard stories of the girls going back to the bar and the bar's refusing to pay, refusing to give them the money that they were supposed to get for the time with the customer. And the bars do this and they get away with it because they're ultimately in charge. And the girls are left empty-handed with nothing. Now, bar fines, it's usually about $100 for the night, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending upon what the mama-san, the woman in charge, is asking for. But that's very much the way it works. And some of the mission organizations, when we would go in and we would start to build these connections and build these relationships, and the girls would say, I'm tired, I haven't had anything to eat all day because I haven't, had a customer and I've been standing on my feet for 12 hours, would you be willing to pay the bar fine and we can just go to McDonald's or go somewhere and just rest and just give me a break? And yeah, the mission organizations are willing to help and give the girls a break. And so what we would occasionally do is go to the mama-san, and she could decide if she trusted us enough, if they saw us as a missionary, they could easily say no. Because they would know, you're taking away one of the people who are bringing in business. You're going to be doing damage to my business. Therefore, they could easily say no. But that was, one of the ways that we could get them out. And there's just a lot more horrendous stories of things I've heard of what takes place there. And there are police, there are authorities, but they really don't do much as far as keeping the peace and protecting the girls. So what is fueling this cycle? This was one of the questions that I had to ask myself when being there and seeing everything take place. One of the main things is poverty. So a lot of these girls that are either in the sex trade industry or being trafficked come from the different provinces that are much poorer over there. So you've got, for example, let's just say, Minneapolis, a wealthy province, wealthy area, and you've got places like Uppsala, Holdingford, Avon, Albany. We'll label those as the poorer provinces. There's nothing here for us. No jobs, no education, no food, no clothing, absolutely nothing. You have people coming saying, we can offer you, education, we can offer you jobs, we can offer you all these other things. The girls will jump on that and take that. But they get to the city, they get to the place that they are at, and lo and behold, there's no jobs, there's no education, nothing that was promised for them. But, hey, we've got this other job for you. You could be a waitress, you could, dance with these other girls on stage for American foreigners who are coming and have lots of money, and, you can, we'll pay you, we'll give you, a little bit of money for you spending time with them, and we will provide housing, which, by the way, the housing is absolutely horrendous. Some of the worst stuff you could imagine, just, horrible floors, mattresses down there, just filthy conditions. And the girls then have a choice. Do I get back to my family, or do I stay here? And yes, it's a horrible job, have to sell myself, but yet, do I want to go back to nothing or this? And what also happens is then some of these girls will start to talk to the other girls who have been there long term. And they will say, yes, we don't like it. However, there's money. However, the Americans and Europeans that take you out, they're willing to buy you a nice dinner at a fancy restaurant, or they will buy you clothing, or they will, you'll spend time with them. They'll take care of you and give you money. And so they hear that, they see that, and some of them decide to stay, some don't. The other thing that was also driving this was income inequality. So the minimum wage there for a worker for the day is about $5 to $6, which is not much at all for them. And they live day to day. It's not like us where we can put something away. It's a daily survival. And so having that in mind, and then realizing that you also need a college degree to actually get a job. I didn't realize that until I went there and started talking to the different people who work there. Work at McDonald's, work at Jollibee, work at some of the different hotels. And they said, yes, for us to actually have a job, you have to have an education. It's required by law. They want their people to be educated, which is, okay, that's great, but there's the dark side of that, which is you're then also adding to the fueling of the sex trafficking, the sex trade industry, because it's quick money for people. It's easy money. You don't have to wait 2 to 4 years to go to school, required by law, to get a job and to get money. The other thing was mass tourism. Like I said, we had 5 military bases there. All the veterans that I talked to, you can be there on a veteran visa. You just need X amount of dollars in your bank account and proof that you're a veteran and that you're retired, and you can be there. And it's cheap for veterans to live there. Like I said, there's a VFW there. There's the American Legion. I spent time there building relationships, getting to know people, and there are tons and tons of veterans that have built a life there for the last 10 to 20 years. And of course, because there's Walking Street, they stay there and they take advantage of that. And so you have all of these different dynamics that are adding to and fueling what is keeping the sex trade, the sex trafficking industry going. The other thing I learned is that, very similar to my time in the Middle East, it's an honor and shame culture. So the kids are required to provide financially for their parents. So a kid is done with high school, now enters the job market, and they have a choice. They can, try to get a job or go to college, and either way, they have to provide financially. They have to take care and send money back to their families. If not, it is seen as a huge, huge, shameful thing. And I'm still grappling with that, to be honest with you, because we're not used to that. We're not used to that honor and shame thing. We're used to respect. We're used to different things like that. But that honor and shame, where if you don't send money back to your parents, your grandparents, and take care of those who came before you, it's a very shameful, dishonoring thing for the family. And for them, that was so huge that they had to weigh the options. Do I go to college and then put money into a degree and then try and find a job? Or do I take this other route, which, yes, it's not good. I don't like it. But it's providing income for me. I'm able to send money back to my family. And if I have kids, it's providing income for my kids. So I'm able to feed them. And so that was the other thing that was very much fueling this issue and keeping it going. The other thing that is being taken advantage of there is you have wealthy companies from all over the world offering golfing and girls. So you'd have business trips, and you would have, companies would fly in all these businessmen from, let's say Europe or China or Korea, and they would take them golfing, and they would do their business trips out on the golf course. And they would have all these girls nicely dressed out there waiting for the guys. And so that was also fueling it, because it was I guess, cost effective for the businesses, unfortunately. And so learning these dynamics as to what keeps it going and what's going to keep it going, unless we start to actually get involved and make changes on very different levels. It's not just a one-sided thing. So what can be done with all of this? With seeing all this, I had to keep asking myself, okay, this is primarily a Catholic nation, and I saw a lot of other Catholic or Protestant churches around. A lot of people adhered to Christianity. And I thought, okay, where is the church in all of this? Where is the body of Christ? Why are they not doing more? What's going on? Well, talking to other people who have been there longer than me, who worked with different organizations, they said, Jared, there was once a meeting between all of the NGOs, the volunteer organizations, and pastors, trying to convince churches and pastors to be active in this. The church's response was, we don't want anything to do with that. We are over here doing our thing. This is their thing. They saw it as, okay, a choice. This is what they want to do. We are not going to deal with the prostitution issue. We are not going to deal with any of this. And it was very heartbreaking for a lot of these volunteers, a lot of these organizations, to see the church very, very stagnant and not involved when they have that ability to do so. And even in interviewing people, even in dialoguing with different foreigners and different people who go to these churches, they were very upset about this issue. The fact that the church has the wealth, has the power to help get some of these people off the streets. You've got people sleeping right on the streets on the church's doorstep. And so you see them continuously asking for help, asking for money. And yet the church is not willing to do that. And so a lot of foreigners, a lot of people were very upset about that. They saw it as not their issue, not their place to get involved. And so that is why a lot of the NGOs have had to pick up the slack. Now, I don't want to make it a blanket statement here in my heart on all churches over there. There are churches that are doing good. There are churches that are reaching out. But from what I could tell and from the meetings that volunteers had taken place with churches, it was not always the case. One of the things that definitely actually was a benefit to us was the coronavirus, believe it or not, because the coronavirus actually shut everything down. And when I mean shut everything down, I mean absolutely everything. So in the beginning of March, we went on to a full lockdown. And when I say lockdown, I mean you're not allowed to leave your homes without written permission to go grocery shopping, and that's it. And if you look on my poster board back there, you'll see the man-made barricades that the police and the military made to keep people from going anywhere. So you take a city like Avon, and they take giant barrels and whatever else they can find, and they block the road so that they can funnel it through one road, and they have police and military there full-time, making sure, okay, do you guys have permission to go grocery shopping? Do you have your written permission? Because if not, you're not going anywhere. And if you're out past 8 o'clock, you're getting locked up because they had a curfew. And if you're going someplace you shouldn't be, you're in trouble with the police. So going on that type of lockdown really shut down Walking Street. It was like a ghost town compared to normally hopping 24/7. People said they had never seen it like that ever before. And so one of the benefits of this, one of the things that this virus is doing, is causing a lot of people to rethink, do I want to actually be a part of this? Because now that I'm not with customers, now that I'm not forced to be up and dancing and having to be there for 12 hours and be exhausted and waiting to make money, what are my other life choices? Can I get out of this situation that I'm in? Is there something better for me and for my family? And so towards the end of my time there, we saw a lot of people starting to question whether they wanted to continue on with this or try and find a way out. One of the things that I definitely found is needed is for us as Christians, the church there, to change people's mindset, because there were so many more people who saw what was going on, and they were Filipino, and yet they were not actively engaging the girls. They were not trying to help them. There was a disconnect. They're like, okay, I went to college, I'm working in a hotel, I'm working in this other job over here. That is, what I'm choosing to do. This is your life choice. But it's like, wait a minute, you're both You're both Filipino. You're both claim to have faith. Why are you not actively engaged? Why are you not actively involved? And so it is changing the mindset that even though this is taking place, you need to be doing something. Even though it's not you in this person's shoes, you need to be actively engaging these people. You need to be salt and light and loving as Jesus would, being the hands and feet of Christ. And from what I saw, we need more and more people actually connecting with those who are going overseas, those who are taking business trips, those who are, the veterans that are living there. The amount of connections I made with veterans who just saw it as, well, this is their lifestyle choice, this is their lot in life. It's like, no, we need to work with them to change their mindset and realize this is not their choice. This is something that they have been pushed into, forced into, and realizing that we can be, more than this. And the thing is, the VA, or the VFW and the Legion, they were doing a lot of good. They were actually providing food for people in need. They, did benefits for people that had for children that had cleft lips, and they would pay for the surgeries, for the medical needs. And so they did some outreaches, they did some things, but at the same time there was the dark side of what a lot of people were doing who were also a part of the VFW as well. I even saw some of the conflicts and some bar fights breaking out because of this. Because some people would say, no, this isn't right. Some people say, well, this is the way it is. And you would see fights happen right at the VFW. And so you see that some people are changing their mind on it. But it would be great if more people could do that as well. So I had to ask myself in all of this, what does it mean to be missional? What does it mean to be the hands and feet of Christ? What does it mean to be salt and light? Because I saw so many churches, so many believers, people who loved God, people who professed to be Christians there. And I had to ask myself, what does it mean to be missional in this context? And then carry that over, what does it mean for us here today to be missional in our context? Because sex trafficking, sex trade, it's not just over there. It's here. And only recently, within the last few years, are we becoming more and more aware of it. It doesn't mean that it's just kind of popped up out of the blue. It just means that all of a sudden it's getting a little more publicity, and our eyes are open to it. And so the question is, what does it mean to be missional in these types of contexts? How do we be missional? And I had to ask myself, who do I be missional to? Do I be missional only to those who are being hurt and abused? Do I also have to be missional to the Korean mafia, to the mamasans, to those who are in charge, who are running this stuff? It's easy to be missional on one side of the fence on this side, where the grass is green. It's harder, to be missional on this side with those who are keeping an eye on you, with those who could mark you as a missionary and kick you out of their club, with those who could easily, cause issues for you and have conflict with you. It's harder to be missional on this side. But yet I found myself realizing I have to be loving as Christ to this side and this side equally. I can't differentiate. I can't separate them, because everybody needs Jesus. Everybody needs to know his love and his peace. And so with that, what I want to tie that into today is this verse, and I thought it very fitting about being salt and light. And so for those of you who are back home, I'll give you a few moments. We are going to talk about Matthew 5:13 through 16. And this is from the NIV version, I believe. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So what does it mean to be salt and light to a broken, hurting world that we currently live in? Initially, when we hear the word, okay, you are the salt of the world, we think, okay, we use it for flavor, right? But yet, in the ancient times, salt was actually used as a preservative. It was used to preserve meat and food so that it would not go bad, so that it would not decay faster. And that is what we, as the body of Christ, are called to be. We are called to preserve the goodness. We are called to be a preservative, to give flavor, to give taste in this broken, hurting world that we are in. And what does it mean to be light? When you think about light, we usually think about flipping on a light switch, right? But for the ancient times, light was huge for them. I didn't realize how important light was until taking the mission trip to Panama, and we were way up in the middle of the jungle, and it started to get dark about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I'm thinking, okay, now what? I don't have a flashlight. I didn't bring candles, and there's nothing else to do except maybe go to bed. So you didn't realize how important light is in that type of context until you don't have it. And so in the ancient times, light was actually very significant. For those of you, I'm sorry, for those of you at home, you probably can't see this, but this is a replica of first century lantern, or I guess oil lamp, where you pour the oil in and light it, and this would light up your room at night. This would give you the light that you needed. And so when Jesus is making these analogies and he's saying this, it's resonating with the people of what it means to be salt and the significance and the importance for them. When you talk about being light, they're realizing, oh yeah, it gets dark. We don't have a light switch. We don't have, flashlights. What we have is this. And I actually did want to, turn the lights off and put oil in this and light fires, but then I realized I'd never done that before, and we don't need a bad science experiment setting the church on fire, especially since we were just able to reopen. But I bet for all of us, if we were to do that, how significant that light would be for all of us. And that is resonating with the first century Judaic believers in this time and in this place, how much it means to be light. And a city on a hill. Now, in the ancient times, some of the cities were built with actual white limestone. And what this did is when the sun would reflect, it would hit the limestone, it would actually shine very bright far away, so travelers, people could actually see it from a distance. And that, once again, would have hit home as to what it meant to be salt and light in their context for these people. Not to be hidden. And even if they're going to endure persecution and hardship, even though, yes, I may have to be marked by the Korean mafia, I may be watched like a hawk by them. Okay, am I still going to be salt and light? Am I still going to be that city up on a hill? Are we as a body still going to stand and be that city for all of Avon or for St. Cloud or for wherever our context is? And I guess that moves us to the final point. What does it mean to be salt and light in our own context? Today we have several missionary groups here, all within their own personal context, all within their own personal outreach. And they're being salt and light in different ways, in different facets. And what does it mean for us as individuals in your own personal context, whether you're at home, whether you're in a different nation watching, whether you are here in Avon? What does it mean? And how can we be salt and light in this context? Right now we are going through a global pandemic. Right now we're going through a global plague. What does it mean for us to actually realize that there's people in need and to be the salt and light to them? Does it mean that we hunker down and we wait till this thing is over and we no longer impact and give flavor to our neighborhoods, to our communities, to the world around us? Do we wait until we're told, yep, now we can go back to normal? Or do we just adapt? I think it's more important, and I think that's what Jesus would want, is for us to adapt to every changing of time. The church during the Black Plague, they had to adapt. They had to learn to deal with their circumstances. The church all over the world throughout the last 2,000 years has had to learn to adapt and to make changes. But that doesn't mean they stop being salt and light. And I think tying it into what I saw and experienced in the Philippines, unfortunately, it felt like some of the churches, some of the body, they lost their saltiness. They hid their light. They didn't want to be that city on a hill. They wanted just to be their own entity. And whatever happened over here with these girls, with these individuals, that's not our problem. That's between them and God. And I'm sorry, but I don't see it that way. That's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not what Christ has called us to. He's called us to something greater, something bigger and better. And so I guess my challenge for all of us is to learn and to really seek God in how can I be salt and light with those around me in all contexts, in all experiences, with everything going on, and not to wait until things go back to normal, whatever normal is anymore. And so right now I'd like to just take some time and pray for you guys and pray for just the city. Pray for those of you that are home, that are watching, that we all would be salt and light as Christ has called us to be, and not hide our light, not become unsalty. Father God, I thank you so much for the people that are here. I thank you that they are making an impact, whether they are part of the different mission groups that are here that you've called, whether they are part of ACC, whether they are online, at home, listening all over the globe, listening whatever their personal context, their missional context is. And I ask that you will be with each individual, each group, and that you would show them how they can be salt and light, how they can shine as a city, whether it's as individuals, whether it is as a group, as a body, as hands and feet for you. I pray that our saltiness would never die out. And Lord, with everything going on around us right now in our nation and in our globe, I think we need that salt and light more now than before. I think we're seeing changings of seasons, and it's time for us to actually love as Christ would love, even to the point of death, even to the point of surrendering our own breath, surrendering our life. Continually impress upon us daily, Lord, how we can come together and be the salt and light you've called us to be. And that our deeds, even though our deeds, our works are nothing more than filthy rags to you, but that our deeds ultimately, they point to you. They point to the image bearer. They point to the one who we are ambassadors for. They point back to the Father. And so may people see the deeds of ACC. May people see the deeds of the different mission groups. May people see the deeds and the works of those who are listening online and realize there's something more to these people, not because of them, but because of God. Not because of anything these people do, but because of who Christ is and the work that he has done in their personal life. I ask all of this in your name, Lord. Amen.